A desperate mission. In the cold depths of space, the human spaceship Harbinger silently glided through the void. Its hull bore the scars of battle, a testament to the desperate mission that lay ahead. On the bridge, Captain Lena Hawkins stood tall, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen displaying the vast expanse before her. Earth, humanity's home, had been attacked by a powerful alien race known as the Zorthak. Major cities lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost in the initial onslaught. Lena and her small crew had been tasked with a crucial mission: infiltrate a Zorthak command ship and steal the plans for their advanced weaponry. It was a desperate gamble, but one that could turn the tide of the war. As Lena gazed at her crew, she saw determination etched on their faces. Her first officer and best friend, Jake Brennan, offered a reassuring nod, his eyes reflecting the same resolve that burned within her. The Harbinger approached the designated coordinates, and the crew prepared for the dangerous insertion via shuttle. Lena and Jake donned their tactical gear, checking their weapons one final time. Specialist Tasha Durand, the ship's infiltration expert, and tech officer Max Adler, a brilliant hacker, joined them in the shuttle bay. As the shuttle detached from the Harbinger and began its silent approach towards the looming Zorthak ship, tension filled the air. Lena's heart raced as she focused on the task at hand, pushing aside the fear that threatened to overtake her. Suddenly, an alarm blared within the shuttle, and the craft shuddered violently. They had been detected. Lena and Jake shared a knowing look, their years of training kicking in. Jake leaped to the shuttle's controls, attempting to evade the incoming fire. Tasha and Max braced themselves, readying their gear for the inevitable crash landing. The shuttle careened towards the Zorthak ship, its hull crumpling under the relentless barrage. In a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar, the shuttle impacted the alien ship's hull. Lena felt a searing pain in her side as she was thrown from her seat. Smoke filled the cabin, and the acrid smell of burning metal assaulted her senses. Through the haze, she saw Jake lying motionless, his body crumpled against the shuttle's wall. Tasha and Max stirred, groaning as they assessed their own injuries. Lena crawled towards Jake, her heart pounding in her chest. As she reached him, she saw the life fading from his eyes. With a final, weak smile, Jake breathed his last, his hand clutching Lena's in a silent farewell. Grief and anger surged through Lena as she held her fallen friend. The mission had already cost them dearly, but she knew they couldn't falter now. With a resolute nod to Tasha and Max, Lena pushed herself to her feet, ignoring the pain that radiated from her battered body. They had to press on for Earth, for humanity, and for Jake. As the trio emerged from the wreckage of the shuttle, they found themselves in the heart of the enemy ship. The corridors stretched out before them, dark and foreboding. Lena took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges that lay ahead. With Jake's sacrifice fueling her determination, she signaled to her team, and they set off into the bowels of the Zorthak vessel, ready to face whatever dangers awaited them. Behind enemy lines, the echoes of distant machinery and the hum of alien technology filled the air as Lena, Tasha, and Max crept through the dimly lit corridors of the Zorthak command ship. They had successfully infiltrated the vessel, but the real challenge lay ahead. Their mission was to reach the ship's central computer core and download the plans for the Zorthak's advanced weaponry. Lena led the way, her senses heightened and her grip tight on her plasma rifle. Tasha followed close behind, her life form moving with feline grace as she scanned for any signs of the enemy. Max brought up the rear, his eyes glued to the holographic display on his wrist, monitoring the ship's systems and guiding them towards their target. As they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, the trio encountered their first obstacle. A group of Zorthak soldiers, their armor glistening in the dim light, rounded the corner ahead. Lena signaled for her team to take cover, and they pressed themselves against the cold metal walls, holding their breath. Tasha, with her keen senses and lightning-fast reflexes, sprang into action. She darted forward, a blur of motion, and dispatched the soldiers with a series of precise strikes. The Zorthak crumpled to the ground, their weapons clattering against the floor. Lena and Max exchanged a brief nod of approval, marveling at Tasha's skill and efficiency. As they pressed onward, the team encountered more challenges. Security drones buzzed overhead, their scanners sweeping the corridors for intruders. Max, with his technical expertise, managed to hack into the drone systems, causing them to malfunction and crash to the ground in a shower of sparks. Lena's mind raced as they approached the central computer core. She couldn't shake the image of Jake's lifeless body from her thoughts. The grief threatened to overwhelm her, but she pushed it aside, focusing on the mission at hand. She knew that Jake would have wanted her to carry on, to ensure that his sacrifice was not in vain. Finally, they reached the entrance to the computer core. Max set to work, his fingers flying over his holographic interface as he attempted to bypass the complex security measures. Tasha and Lena stood guard, their weapons at the ready, scanning the surrounding area for any signs of trouble. Minutes felt like hours as Max worked, the tension mounting with each passing second. Just as Lena was about to ask for an update, the doors to the computer core hissed open. Max grinned triumphantly, his face illuminated by the soft glow of his display. The team entered the cavernous chamber, marveling at the alien technology that surrounded them. Towering servers and pulsing energy conduits filled the room, casting an eerie blue light. Max quickly located the central data hub and began the download of the weapon schematics. As the data streamed into Max's device, Lena allowed herself a moment of hope. With these plans, Earth stood a chance against the Zorthak. They could turn the tide of the war and ensure that Jake's sacrifice had not been in vain. Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the chamber, and the room was bathed in pulsing red light. Tasha and Lena whirled around, their weapons raised, as Max frantically worked to complete the download. They knew they had been discovered, and time was running out. Lena steeled herself for the battle to come, her grief and determination fueling her resolve. They had come too far to fail now. As the first Zorthak soldiers burst into the room, Lena and her team stood ready, prepared to fight their way out and complete their mission, no matter the cost. A shocking discovery. As the data from the Zorthak's central computer core streamed into Max's device, Lena and Tasha fought off wave after wave of alien soldiers. The chamber echoed with the sound of plasma fire and the clash of metal against metal. Lena's heart pounded in her chest as she unleashed a barrage of shots, taking down Zorthak after Zorthak with grim determination. Tasha moved with fluid grace, her blade slicing through the air as she engaged the enemy in close combat. Her movements were a blur, a deadly dance of precision and power. Together, Lena and Tasha held the line, buying Max the time he needed to complete the download. As the last of the data transferred, Max's eyes widened in shock. He scrolled through the information, his face growing pale as he absorbed the horrifying truth. "Lena," he called out, his voice trembling. "You need to see this." Lena and Tasha fell back to Max's position, their weapons still trained on the entrance to the chamber. Max turned his holographic display towards them, revealing the shocking discovery he had made. Earth was not the Zorthak's first target. The alien race had conquered and destroyed countless worlds before setting their sights on humanity. The data showed a trail of destruction and subjugation that spanned the galaxy, with entire civilizations falling before the might of the Zorthak war machine. But that was not the only revelation. As Max delved deeper into the data, he uncovered the key to the Zorthak's military dominance, a rare material called novanium. This volatile substance, found only in the cores of specific unstable stars, powered the Zorthak's ships and weapons, granting them an overwhelming advantage over their enemies. Lena felt a chill run down her spine as the implications sank in. The Zorthak's campaign of conquest was driven by their insatiable need for novanium. They would stop at nothing to secure the precious resource, even if it meant the annihilation of entire species. Max's hand shook as he read further, Discovering that the Zorthak had already identified several novanium-rich star systems and were preparing to harvest the material at any cost. Time was running out, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. Lena's mind raced as she processed the information. She knew that they couldn't keep this knowledge to themselves. They had to get the data back to Earth, to warn humanity of the true nature of the threat they faced. But first, they had to escape the Zorthak ship alive. As if on cue, a fresh wave of Zorthak soldiers poured into the chamber, their weapons blazing. Lena, Tasha, and Max sprang into action, fighting with renewed urgency. They had to survive, not just for themselves, but for the fate of the galaxy. Lena's plasma rifle hummed as she fired shot after shot, taking down the advancing Zorthak. Tasha danced through the chaos, her blade a blur of deadly precision. Max, his hands still shaking, managed to seal the doors to the chamber, buying them precious moments to plan their escape. As the trio fought on, their minds reeling from the shocking discovery they had made, they knew that their mission had taken on a new level of importance. The data they carried could change the course of the war and the fate of countless worlds. They had to succeed, no matter the cost. With grim determination, Lena rallied her team, ready to fight their way back to the shuttle and escape the Zorthak ship. The battle was far from over, but armed with the knowledge of the enemy's true motives and the key to their power, Lena knew that humanity still had a chance. They would not go down without a fight. Daring escape. The corridors of the Zorthak command ship echoed with the sound of alarms and the thundering footsteps of pursuing soldiers. Lena, Tasha, and Max raced through the labyrinthine passages, their hearts pounding in their chests as they fought their way back to the shuttle. The precious data they carried, the key to humanity's survival, weighed heavily on their minds. Lena led the charge, her plasma rifle blazing as she cut down Zorthak soldiers with ruthless efficiency. Tasha followed close behind, her blade a whirlwind of death, dispatching any enemies that dared to come too close. Max, his face illuminated by the glow of his holographic display, guided them through the ship, hacking into security systems and sealing doors behind them to slow their pursuers. As they neared the shuttle bay, the resistance grew fiercer. The Zorthak, realizing the gravity of the situation, threw everything they had at the human intruders. Energy beams sizzled through the air, scorching the walls and filling the corridors with the acrid scent of ozone. Suddenly, a searing pain tore through Tasha's shoulder as a Zorthak energy beam found its mark. She stumbled, her blade clattering to the floor as she clutched her wound. Lena and Max instantly closed ranks around her, shielding her from the onslaught. Max, his face etched with determination, scooped up Tasha's fallen blade and charged forward, engaging the Zorthak soldiers in a desperate bid to buy Lena time to get Tasha to safety. Lena, her heart wrenching at the sight of her wounded friend, half-carried, half-dragged Tasha towards the shuttle bay. As they reached the shuttle, Max rejoined them, his breath coming in ragged gasps and his body battered from the fierce combat. Lena helped Tasha into the shuttle, securing her in a seat before turning to Max. "You're flying," she ordered, her voice tight with urgency. "Get us out of here." Max, his face grim, nodded and leaped into the pilot's seat. His hands flew over the controls, powering up the shuttle's engines and preparing for a rapid departure. Lena took up a defensive position at the shuttle's entrance, her plasma rifle trained on the bay doors. The shuttle shuddered as Max guided it out of the bay, narrowly avoiding the energy beams that lanced through the void. Zorthak fighters swarmed around them, their weapons blazing as they sought to bring down the fleeing humans. Max, his brow furrowed in concentration, wove the shuttle through the storm of enemy fire, his piloting skills put to the ultimate test. Inside the shuttle, Lena tended to Tasha's wound, her hand steady despite the chaos that surrounded them. As she worked, her mind raced, piecing together the fragments of information they had gathered. The Zorthak's reliance on novanium, the location of the resource-rich star systems, and the desperate urgency of their conquest, All pointed to one inescapable conclusion. To end the war and save not only Earth but countless other worlds, they had to beat the Zorthak to the Novanium-rich star system and destroy it. Cut off the enemy supply, and their war machine would grind to a halt. It was a daring plan, one that would require immense sacrifice, but Lena knew it was their only hope. As the shuttle rocketed away from the Zorthak command ship, pursued by a relentless swarm of fighters, Lena looked to Max and Tasha, her eyes blazing with determination. "We have to end this," she declared, her voice resolute. "We have to destroy the Novanium source. It's the only way." Max and Tasha, their faces etched with pain and exhaustion, nodded in agreement. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew that the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. As the shuttle hurtled through the void, the trio steeled themselves for the final battle to come, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice to ensure the survival of humanity and the freedom of the stars. Sacrifice and victory. The battered shuttle streaked through the void, its engine straining as Max pushed them to their limits. Lena stood behind him, her hand resting on his shoulder, her eyes fixed on the star system that loomed ahead. The Novanium-rich star, the key to the Zorthak's power, glowed with an eerie, pulsing light. Tasha, her wound bandaged and her face pale, struggled to her feet. She joined Lena at the view screen, her jaw set with grim determination. "We're not going to make it," she said softly, her voice tinged with resignation. "The Zorthak are right behind us, and our shuttle is barely holding together." Lena nodded, her heart heavy with the knowledge of what needed to be done. "We have to try," she replied, her voice steady despite the enormity of the task before them. "If we can ignite the star prematurely, it will consume the Novanium and destroy the Zorthak fleet. It's our only chance." Max, his hands flying over the controls, spoke up. "I can rig the shuttle's drive to explode," he said, his voice tight with tension. "But someone will have to stay behind to detonate it manually." Lena closed her eyes for a moment, the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. She knew what she had to do. "I'll do it," she declared, her voice unwavering. "Max, you and Tasha take the escape pods and get clear. I'll lead the Zorthak away and detonate the drive when the time is right." Tasha and Max opened their mouths to protest, but Lena silenced them with a look. "It's the only way," she said softly, her eyes shining with unused tears. "Earth needs you both. You have to get the data back, to warn humanity and give them a fighting chance." With heavy hearts, Max and Tasha reluctantly agreed. They embraced Lena one last time, their tears mingling as they said their goodbyes. Then, with a final, resolute nod, they climbed into the escape pods and jettisoned away from the shuttle. Lena, alone now, turned to face the Zorthak fleet that bore down upon her. She gripped the controls of the shuttle, her knuckles white with tension, and steered the craft towards the pulsing star. The Zorthak ships, sensing her intentions, opened fire, their energy beams lancing through the void. Lena wove the shuttle through the barrage, her skills as a pilot put to the ultimate test. She pushed the engines to their limit, drawing the Zorthak closer, leading them on a desperate chase towards the star. As the shuttle neared the star's corona, the Zorthak ships in hot pursuit, Lena activated the drive's overload sequence. The shuttle shuddered violently, its hull creaking under the strain of the immense power building within. Lena closed her eyes, her thoughts turning to Jake, to her crew, to the countless lives that hung in the balance. She knew that her sacrifice would not be in vain, that her actions would give humanity a chance to fight back against the Zorthak and secure a future among the stars. With a final defiant cry, Lena released the shuttle's controls and braced herself for the end. The drive exploded in a blinding flash of light, the shockwave tearing through the Zorthak fleet and igniting the Novanium-rich star. The star erupted in a cataclysmic blast, consuming the Zorthak ships in a fiery inferno. The Novanium within its core detonated, unleashing a wave of energy that rippled across the system, destroying everything in its path. From the escape pods, Max and Tasha watched in awe and sorrow as the star went supernova, knowing that Lena had given her life to make it possible. They clutched the precious data close, their hearts heavy with grief, but also filled with a fierce determination to honor their fallen captain's sacrifice. As the shockwave dissipated and the star faded into a smoldering remnant, the galaxy trembled with the knowledge that the Zorthak had been defeated. Earth, and countless other worlds, had been saved by the bravery and sacrifice of Lena Hawkins and her crew. In the years that followed, humanity looked to the stars with renewed hope and purpose. They carried the memory of Lena and her team in their hearts, vowing to ensure that no other race would suffer the same fate as those conquered by the Zorthak. The data retrieved from the Zorthak command ship proved invaluable, allowing humanity to advance their technology and forge alliances with other spacefaring races. Together, they worked to rebuild what had been lost and to create a brighter future for all. And so, the legend of Captain Lena Hawkins and the crew of the Harbinger spread throughout the galaxy, inspiring generations to come. Their sacrifice had not been in vain, and their legacy would endure as a beacon of hope and a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. In the end, it was not just the strength of human weapons or the ingenuity of human technology that had saved the galaxy, but the courage, determination, and unwavering resolve of the human heart. Lena and her crew had shown that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit could triumph, and that the light of hope could never be extinguished. And so, as the galaxy looked to the stars with renewed wonder and purpose, the memory of Captain Lena Hawkins and her valiant crew lived on, a shining example of the power of sacrifice, the strength of unity, and the enduring resilience of the human spirit.